The U.S. and the Colombian military worked together so closely. Back in July, Operation Jaque that brought about the rescue of Ingrid Betancourt, the 3 American contractors, the 15 others. And then this weekend, they rescued a former congressman who'd been in the jungle for like almost 9 years. And did our military or our government somehow help the Colombians in this latest rescue?
Look, Brian, I don't want to overstate the case because exactly as I said in the evening of the 2nd of July after Operation Jaque, that operation was a Colombian concept, a Colombian plan, and a Colombian operation. And the release, the rescue, or the escape, depending upon which noun you wish to use, of former Congressman Liscayo is exactly that as well. What we were able to do was provide some very limited amount of airlift support to help move operational elements of the Colombian National Police to the location where eventually the escape and the rescue came to pass. I am delighted that we could do that. Those aircraft, those helicopters were taken off of their counter-narcotics mission for a brief period of time. It was the right thing to do. I will always give priority to human life and rescuing or supporting the rescue of hostages held by the FARC. Incidentally, this morning I also wanted to give credit to another government that contributed, I think, to this outcome, and that is the government of our close friend and NATO ally, the French Republic, for their role in this very, very satisfactory outcome in that they have offered, pending obviously resolution of judicial issues, asylum to the member of the FARC, Mr. Isasa, who brought the former hostage out with him.
A rather bold and ballsy move for a FARC guerrilla.
It was, and I could well understand why he might now choose to live in some other country. If I had been affiliated with that particular organization, conceivably the most vicious, repugnant, and repulsive organization in this entire hemisphere, I probably wouldn't want to live here either. But my point, I guess, is to the other 189 countries and governments in the world, other than Colombia, France, and the United States. And that is that we all have our small piece to play in this drama. We should all be looking for ways where we too can contribute to humanitarian outcomes that takes innocent people and puts them back in their homes with their families where they belong.
Ambassador, let me ask you about the international perception of this place. Because 10 years ago, when I was living in Miami, I was scared witless to come down here. I mean, go to Colombia? But now, I guess the Colombia of then and the Colombia of today are two completely different places. What is the U.S. doing to help Colombia change its image abroad?
Look, your question's a very good one. And the truth of the matter is I share exactly the same experience that you had. I first came to Colombia on an official mission in 1993. And to say that the Colombia of today, 2008, is a completely different country from the Colombia that I first knew in 1993 is, if anything, it's an understatement. I mean, the truth of the matter is you might as well be in two different planets when you compare today with this country 15 years ago. Now, what are we trying to do? Because I do admit, I think you were right. I have never served in a country, and I have been in this business now for 29 years, where the perception outside the country is so different from the perception inside the country.
Yeah.
Your average Colombian citizen right now is pleased. He's optimistic. He says today is better than it was 10 years ago, and he's thinking it's going to be better still for my children in 10 or 15 years in the future. What I think we have to do is we, the international community, the diplomatic community, and if you will, the representatives of the United States government here in Colombia, we have to accept that yes, in this country, as in every country in the world, including my own, there are imperfections. But the trend line on every single issue is positive. We have to acknowledge that we are expecting more than 500,000, 500,000 American citizens as tourists to Colombia this year, and ask if that is consistent with this image that so many seem to have. We have to encourage, as we talk to U.S. businessmen, U.S. investors, for them to take a look, encourage them to take a look at the big picture, at what is the reality here. And then we have to encourage our visitors to ask the tough questions. Yes, of course, that's perfectly legitimate, but also to take a look at the statistics. What was the murder rate in 1993? What is it now? What was the rate of human rights violations in 1993? What is it now? What was the economic situation in 1993? What is it now? If they take a look at any of these statistics, I think they'll answer their own question.
And what about the State Department travel advisory? Because that's what my family looks at, and they're like, well, State Department says don't go to Colombia.
Yep, fair question, and not the first time I have heard this question, Brian. What I will say to you is I believe we have to take this one step at a time. If you were to ask me, which you did not, thank you, do I believe that by tomorrow we will see the travel advisory lifted?
Okay, do you believe that by tomorrow the travel...
No, I do not. I do believe, however, the logic is that we are moving in that direction. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the situation is changing in Colombia. Why? Because we're expecting 500,000 U.S. citizen tourists in Colombia this year.
On cruise ships, going to Cartagena, hanging out in Medellin. What's your favorite place to visit here, Ambassador?
May I suggest that I have several favorites. I am a diplomat. I am not so stupid as to give you a straightforward answer to that question. I would suggest that during the 3 or 4 days of maximum impact of Carnival, for example, Barranquilla might be my favorite place.
Do you have a Marimonda mask?
But I do not have to answer that question, and I will not. I would suggest that at certain times of the year, in fact, in another week or two, during a certain pageant that tends to occur in Cartagena, Cartagena is my favorite place. I have tremendous affection for the Eje Cafetero. I think it is a fun place to visit. I enjoy my visits to Cali and to Medellin. And may I tell you something that may surprise you?
Surprise me.
I started my career as a vice consul in the kind of the southeast corner of the Guajira Peninsula. At that time, I was the vice consul in the then U.S. consulate in Maracaibo, Zulia State. I still have a tremendous affection for the Guajira. It's a very stark, dry, and almost unique landscape, somewhat similar, by the way, to West Texas, if you wish to know. In short, I've got a lot of favorite places. My most favorite would be standing on top of a mountain looking out over all of Colombia. That's my diplomatic answer, and you know, this time it's true.
You know, Ambassador, I agree. My favorite place in Bogota is to go to Monserrate and stand there by the church and look out and see the whole city. And then you say, wow, this is Colombia. This is pretty cool.
I was there just yesterday, thank you. If you wish to ask, it was 35 minutes for me from the bottom to the top, but I am not boasting.
You hiked it yourself? No teleferico for you?
I have legs.
Way
Did
to
you not
go.
notice that I have legs? I like to use them from time to time.
He's Iron Man. He's Iron Man. Ambassador, thanks so much. Let me just, before we let you go, let me just throw it open to you. Is there anything else that you would like our viewers all over the world to know about what our government, the United States, is doing to help Colombia overcome all of the challenges and continue to be a really fantastic democracy here in Latin America?
Yes, I would. Thank you for this opportunity, and I want to pitch a couple of just thoughts or suggestions. First, obviously, my dream, the legacy that I wish to leave behind is the reestablishment of a professional baseball league in Colombia affiliated with Major League Baseball in the United States of America. I could use a little bit of support on that, by the way, in the months ahead. Second, I wish to remind you, you and I are both quite comfortable in the English language and in the Spanish language. But there's a lot to be said for making Colombia a more bilingual country. There's a lot we can do, the United States government, the United States Embassy, and our excellent Centros Colombo-Americanos in 9 different locations in Colombia. But I wouldn't mind people thinking about how they could give that a bit of a nudge as well. And finally, I suppose this is obviously belaboring the obvious. Anything one can do to promote the prospects of the University of Texas being the #1 football team in the United States of America this year would be much appreciated by this humble ambassador. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, Ambassador, and all my exes live in Texas. So there you have it.
They're smart exes.
Ambassador William Brownfield joining us from the U.S. Embassy here in Bogota. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate your time. And I know you're another gringo who is also in love with Colombia.
That's exactly correct.
That's going to do it today for the RCN News in English. Of course, if you'd like to check out the U.S. Embassy's website online, it's BogotaUSEmbassy.gov. If you're an American like me living here, they have a number of services that will help you out. Or if you're a Colombian living abroad, it's a good place to start. There are people at the embassy who can help connect you with the right place as you're trying to figure out how to navigate the bureaucratic system of, stuff that involves embassies and visas and that kind of thing. That's RCN News in English for this Monday evening. I'm Brian Andrews in Bogota, and we're bringing all of Colombia to the world.